I'm reminded of something I heard probably 20 years ago at an ETS, Evangelical Theological Society conference, and I was attending a session where an academic was giving a paper, and he was addressing something like this, and he made a statement that actually really bothered me, and I'll explain why, because it's really the heart of my answer to this question. The statement he made was that our preaching should not have a hint of politics in it. So I wrote a piece called No Hint of Politics, and you could probably still find it in the STR archive, No Hint of Politics. And I talked there about why I thought that was really bad advice. And so let me give you a couple of reasons why I think so, to put things in perspective for us now as we assess how we engage in the moment. And one of the things that I said was that if we, well, first of all, it implies that the things that politics generally deal with are outside the purview of Christianity. So there becomes, in that statement, a kind of a sacred secular distinction. Okay, we deal with sacred stuff. And that's all secular stuff. And so we're gonna stay in this sacred world here and do our Bible thing and our prayer thing and that kind of stuff, and we'll leave others to deal with the secular stuff. It's like kingdom of God, a kingdom of man kind of deal, you know. And I think that's a false dichotomy. We are living in the world. We're not to be of it, but we're in this world. Okay? And our lives as followers of Christ are full-orbed. Our understanding of reality, that's theology. Our understanding of God and man and Jesus and the cross and the church and the nature of the world and all of that, that's the story of reality. That's our story. That encompasses everything, not just this little religious thing here. And by the way, if we just attend to just the religious stuff, we should not be surprised when people say, you know, your Christianity has no relevance to life, because how does it speak to all of these other things? It's not comprehensive at all, but it is. It ought to be comprehensive. It's meant to be comprehensive. And so this sacred secular distinction is foreign to biblical Christianity. And so that's one problem. Here's another problem, and that is when you ask, what is politics? Well, politics involves the right use of power, okay? So you have the government who has power, which uses that power to accomplish certain tasks. But the tasks, especially in our system, must be for the common good, all right, for the common welfare. I mean, that's right in our documents, the preamble of the Constitution. All right. So the power that people hold in a representative republic is meant to serve the good of the republic. Notice that the word good there is a moral term, which means that politics is a moral enterprise. It is an exercise in the right use of power. And so if we say, well, we don't want to mess and sully ourselves in that area because that's like secular. Well, wait a minute. These guys are making decisions about how we live. Their power is being wielded in a certain way. Who is it that informs the way they wield that power? Non-Christians? Secularists? Atheists? Is this what we want to say? That all of those decisions in public policy are going to be informed by someone else's worldview? No, I don't think that's the way it's supposed to work. And here's one other problem that a lot of people haven't thought of. If we adopt the view that we are not going to have any hint of politics in our discourse as a Christian community. And by the way, never mind that the American Revolution was worked out and planned out and executed from the church in the colonies. All right. separate issue. No, some people might think that was a bad idea, either the revolution or that the church did it, but I'm just saying, as a matter of fact, that's how it worked out. But if we're going to take that point of view, no hint of politics, do you realize that all a person has to do is to label some element as political, and now we are obliged by this conviction to wave the white flag and back down. Stand down, Christian, this is politics. Well, what is politics? I'll tell you what is politics. Everything now. Everything. It used to be kind of very broad policy concerns like national budgets and trade and infrastructure and stuff like that. And all of a sudden now, and issues of marriage and family and sexuality and personal virtue, and those were all things that were part of the more personal, subjective, say, religious element. Whatever your convictions are, that's not politics. It's all politics now. There is virtually nothing that has not been politicized. Now the family is politicized, and sex is politicized, and birth control, and abortion, and gender, and race, and everything is political. So now what do we have to say if we are not going to get involved in politics? Now, there is we have to make a decision, obviously, and this is true not just with politics, but with any of the areas, the multifaceted areas that our convictions touch on our lives and our public and communal lives. We have to kind of weigh things, and we have to, choose the hills we're going to die on, and we have to be wise and prudent, and so there's a process here. Sometimes we might get wrapped up in some issue of public policy. I'm not going to call it politics now because everything's politics. But some particular issue of public policy, we get wrapped up in it so much that it's not that weighty, but it's our pet thing, and it distracts us from other things that are more morally weighty. Okay, then our politics, so to speak, have gotten in the way. But if we're seeing our involvement in our community and policy as an extension of the Christian, our Christian worldview, be fruitful, multiply, subdue the world. In other words, make disciples of all the nations. I mean, these are different responsibilities I just described that we have, but these all have political ramifications. And incidentally, I know this. I mean, this is much closer to home for me because in 1976 I spent 3.5 months in Europe, and 5.5 weeks of that I was behind the Iron Curtain. I was in 6 communist countries. I was working with Christians who were suffering because in their countries the exercise of Christianity in a biblical way was just not legal. So I was in Hungary and Romania and Moldavia and the former Soviet Union and the Ukraine. I was also in Poland. I was in DDR, East Germany. I was in Czechoslovakia. I was in Yugoslavia. And so I know what people went through to try to be Christians within their culture when the pressure was really heavy duty on them. I met with the Georgievins family back in 1976. He was the leader of the Reformed Baptists in the Soviet Union. I met with them in their home in the Ukraine and in Kiev, and he was in the camps in Siberia as a Christian. So, was politics meaningful for them? Sure. And though we don't have a Siberia, the heat's really coming down hard on Christians now. I talked about this last hour quite a bit. And you're going to see more and more of it. And we need to be encouraging each other and standing tall when we need to, choose our battles wisely. But we can't say, oh, we got to get out of politics. That's politics. No, we're not going to do that. Because that means getting out of the culture. You can't be in the world the way Jesus had in mind and ignore the political realities.